there's a compounding effect there. So if we can get one person to improve their sleep, that's going to compound, because if they are feeling better because of better sleep, what are they going to do? They're going to have more energy for their relationships. They're going to have more energy to exercise. They're going to have more energy to do other things. They're going to have more energy in their work. Maybe that leads to financial success. The list goes on, right? It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
So if we can change one thing each week, or even each month, pretty incredible change over time.
Welcome to The Critical Mass, the show about turning struggle into strength and momentum. I'm Phil Diasinos, and I'm on a mission to hit my own critical mass, the point where effort turns into unstoppable progress. Along the way, I'll be sitting down with people who've been through the fire and come out sharper, stronger, and more resilient. We'll break down their stories, lessons, and mindsets so you can fuel your own journey. Let's get into it. So we're sitting with Sean Law today, the half of the Kaizen Path. So Nick couldn't make it today. He's on a wild bucks, is it? Or
it's a 50th.
50th.
He's a bit of a mix between his family holiday and a 50th to come up the rear. So he'll be back in a few days.
Yeah,
but,
right.
I'll do my best to represent him.
Beautiful. And Thailand is...
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll just get into it. So Kaizen Path, that's how I met you. So it's a program that you run it on Sundays.
Yeah.
What's it all about?
So basically, Nick and I are the Kaizen Path, and basically we're health and wellness facilitators. So we've got a mission to improve men's mental health, and we do that through improving and educating on their physical health and connection, fostering connection, with a bit of a spice of pushing people out of their comfort zone, as you're fully aware of.
Yeah, definitely.
Because as we've discovered, there's some pretty amazing things that happen when we get out of our comfort zone as individuals and communities. So that's our mission. That's what we're about. So how we do that, you mentioned the Sunday sessions. So we provide a platform where people can, the men's group around the hills in Sydney, the wider Sydney metro area as well. We get people from all corners of Sydney even coming to Norwest in the Hills District there, and it's an opportunity for people to come together and work on their mental and physical health as a group, like-minded individuals, and providing a lot of support. So on those Sunday sessions in particular, 7 a.m. every Sunday, and we do that intentionally to get that sunrise and that first hit of the sun to generate or kickstart our circadian rhythms, which is one element we can get into a bit later on if you like. But we do three main components of that are breathwork we start with, and then we get into some physical movement. That might be a bit of mobility, strength, but mostly work on our aerobic capacity, which we know has a lot of benefit with mental and obviously physical health. And then we finish off getting into the ice bath and G'ing each other up. But I think the most important aspect of the Sunday sessions, Phil, are those incidental conversations and the relationships and connections that kind of form and happen before, during, and after the session itself. I mean, we're getting people, yourself, for example, we meet up with Paulie there and working on your VO2 maxes, which Nick and I absolutely love seeing, because this is why we set it up. That's one aspect of how we're kind of fulfilling our mission. And we also run workshops for schools, workshops for organisations in the corporate and the sporting world, and we also do throughout the year some walks, which we have one for the Kaizen Path and Kaizen Brotherhood next month, actually, going up to the Blue Mountains, forest bathing.
Looking forward to that one.
And some water bathing as well in ice cold water up in there in the mountains. And we're dabbling, as you know, into looking at doing men's retreats as well. So, like I said, all coming back to that aspect of that mission of improving men's mental health. There's a lot of not to digress too much, but there's a lot of great information, messages that are out there in the world, opinion leaders, influencers, around mental health. I think, a lot of people are well on top of the benefits of journaling, gratitude journaling, meditation, talking to your mates, your spouses, and that importance of communication. That's all really good mental health tools, which Nick and I really believe strongly in. But we add on to that, I guess, and into a bit more of a holistic viewpoint. We understand the importance of working on and optimizing your physical health to support your mental health. We understand the importance of building connection to help with your mental health. So we offer the platform and allow build a community group to help to practice what we preach, basically. So that's a long-winded way of saying what we do and kind of how we do it. But that's us.
Yeah, and I like how you do incorporate all the different elements, and you can see the change rapidly. And might use myself as testimonial as well, because I have attended, and I find when I do attend, it's a great start to the week. And I can see that new members, after only takes a week or two before they have drastic changes in their outlook, their lives, their mindset. And even before and after a session, when people turn up, they're tired, they've just gone out of a warm bed into a cold environment early in the morning. And afterwards, when you're talking sometimes we do the breakfast afterwards, and then you're talking, and they've had that rush of, you've had the morning sun, they've had all the dopamine hit, the endorphins from all the exercise, the connection, the bonding, the talking, and it really opens them up and changes them. And I think it's awesome. That's why I wanted to have you on today, to try to shine a bit more light on what you do, the cause, and the greater elements that you kind of bring into it. And it's cool because you've got the exercise background, and you obviously know your stuff, and it's also important to impart that knowledge, and even all those like little gems. And you're saying about the meditation, and a lot of people don't really realize, like, we've got this primitive tool in our head.
Yeah, big time.
It's so powerful. Like AI, close to, but I don't believe has surpassed it yet. And we don't know how to use it. A lot of people don't know that you can live in a dark space, you can go through these spirals, but you can also break out of these patterns and go on upward spirals, and use visualization, and you can experience something and know it's going to happen, and visualize and get that outcome. And by having these experiences and teaching this and sharing it, I think it really opens up people's capacity to learn, to grow, career-wise, relationship-wise, better relationships with their children, their spouses, their friends, their family. And I think it's amazing what you do. Why men's mental health of all rabbit holes?
Yeah, so I'll talk about my experience and the journey of getting to where we are today first, and then I'll touch on Nick's as well.
Yeah,
Nick not being here, I want to represent his, because that was quite pivotal in why we're here, and the why on Kaizen Path as well. But for me personally, I've grown up really involved in sport and health, real strong passion of mine, and particularly around longevity as well.
Yes.
That's always been a big thing for me. And I think when I was 18, 19, I bought a book called How to Stay Young. And it sounds stupid, right? 18, 19, why is this 18, 19-year-old kid, picking up a book on how to stay young? It's probably more for, middle-aged to older people. And it was just a real strong passion of mine, and getting the best out of my body. And I love life so much, and I always have, that I want to prolong it, right?
Yeah.
And I want it, not only prolonging it, but getting the most out of it. And if I learned from a young age that if we are optimizing our body physically, I'm focusing on it for the time being, and that was all I was focusing on at that stage, right? There was nothing mental about it. We can go on more hikes, we can bungee jump without issues, we can ski without issues, and go off track, and we've got the strength in our body and our endurance in our body to do those things and experience those wonderful things in life. And we can do more of it because we can potentially live for a long life, right? As I got a bit older, I realised the stresses. There was more stresses than adult life comes along, right? And, there's a bit more of a hit and a challenge of your mental and emotional health. and more recently, last year, in fact, a good mate of mine lost his battle with mental health, which manifested through alcoholism, which was pretty brutal for me. Hit close to home, and chatting with Nick as well, going through his experiences. So Nick, in the space of a 12-month period, lost two mates of his to suicide as well. And, it got me thinking, my passion for longevity still exists strongly, but it's I guess my thought around that matured a little bit in regards to, if you could live a long life, but if you don't have great mental and emotional health, what's the point, right? If you don't have those connections, what's the point? The analogy is if you could have amazing blood profiling, you could have amazing strength, hit 100 on the hand dynamometer there. You could have a VO2 max of 70, and you're the only person in the world. What's the point of living? You might live a while, but what's the point of living if you're going to live with AI bots and there's no one around? We need connection. We need our mental health. We need purpose. All those sorts of things. And I realised that in my late 20s, early 30s, and to now, that it's not just about the physical health and longevity. It's about the mental side of it as well. Mental health can stop you in your tracks a lot quicker than physical health has, and ultimately when you put your head on the pillow at night, it's just you. There's no one else. You might have a spouse lying next to you, but ultimately it's just you with your thoughts. So that's the why, and I guess beyond just myself and Nick's experience, everyone's kind of knows of someone who's lost their life, or knows of someone's friend, or there's some sort of connection there to suicide, and we see it a lot more, significantly more in men's mental health in terms of suicide than women. Obviously that's female mental health is very important. Nick and I understand, we focus on the men's mental health rather than the overall, because we understand the men's mental health side of things, and we also believe, just due to the stats, that there's a bit more attention that needs people like us.
Yeah, definitely do. And I think it's about 4 times more prevalent in men. So I lost a friend from primary school who lived up the street from me, and it's not always, there's not always signs there. So this in this person, it was very sudden and unexpected, and so there isn't always signs. So it's important to address it and have outlets for these people who aren't giving those, because when there's obvious signs and there's that plea for help, then action can be taken. But when it can be a silent killer, right? It can.
Yeah, totally, and that's why we take the approach, this holistic approach, right? Yeah. All those mental health tools that we spoke about, the gratitude journaling, the meditation, the talking to people is vital. We do it all ourselves. But I think that prevention side of it, because it's so hard to pick up, right?
Yes.
We want to give the tools to these men of our community as much as possible. So I'll give you an example how physical health will help with the mental health. If you've got poor metabolic health, and by metabolic health, I'm talking, you don't, a good metabolic health has a good flexibility, an ability to shift from metabolizing ketones to metabolizing glucose pretty well. Another aspect would be maintaining a healthy level of insulin, a healthy level of blood glucose. If you don't have that, you have a high glucose meal, for example, you get that big spike, particularly as something like breakfast where cortisol is high. You get that spike in glucose, compensatory effect, you get a dip. That's a low energy state, right? It's very difficult to maintain a good mood, concentration, focus, all of that we need to operate mentally well, if you don't have that. So that's one example. Another example, if you don't have, let's say you're doing some one thing I do in the morning is sun gazing with my meditation, and I make sure I get that bit of infrared hit and sunlight early on. to kickstart my circadian rhythm. Exercise helps with that as well. We know that helps with melatonin release and all that sort of stuff. We can get into the science, but we won't. But if you that's a physical aspect of your health, right? If you don't optimize that, then you're not sleeping well. It's very difficult to maintain a good state of mental health.
Correct. Yeah.
If you're not sleeping well. So that's what we look at in terms of our educational angle, why we look at it like that, the physical and connection aspect, because it's, like you said, it's a silent killer. It's difficult to diagnose. It's difficult to identify.
Yeah. And the physical thing I think's often overlooked. So people might often do the counselling and try to address, but I think that's often treating symptoms rather than causes often. So yeah, I think if you can hit it at both sides and have that physical side, because even like you said, at a mitochondrial level, if your power plants aren't functioning, then good luck getting good results at the other end, physically, mentally, any regard. So I like how you have that holistic approach, and I think it's very important and getting the results, and I believe you are getting the results, and that's a great thing. Scaling. So we had a talk with Andrew Lewis earlier, who's starting the Coogee chapter of the Kaizen Path.
Yep.
What's next?
Very exciting.
You planning on scaling further, or how can we reach the most people, have the most impact?
Look, what we're Andrew, like I said, he's taking the expansion, taking the first Kaizen Path or Kaizen Brotherhood outside of the Hills District, which is very exciting for Nick and I. It means the message is growing, and if we can have all of these champions delivering the message like the great Andrew Lewis is across, and we want other people in other areas, if they come to Andrew in the Coogee Brotherhood, and then we get others in the original from other areas of Sydney, we want them to expand, and it's a free thing, right? It's there's no cost. There's no pressure. People just come down, and it's just the goal is to spread the message. So to answer your question, we want to keep doing more of that. We want people to run more of these things. I think we're looking into getting some sponsorships because we've got quite a number of men who can benefit from various health services, and if we can leverage off those sponsors and we can give back to the community, then that's great. I mean, we actually started this community as a paid scheme just to help us build up the resources, purchase the ice baths, etc., all the equipment to do this. We've now made it free because it's paid for itself now. But if we can kind of expand by getting some sponsors on board, we can keep maintaining the free nature of this for men. All they've got to do is bring down three bags of ice. We can expand into spreading the message. We could even potentially start offering corporate gigs for little to no cost even, and cost is not the driver here, the motivator. But we do need those sponsors to help spread the message.
And how can people get involved and get in touch if they want to contribute to the cause?
So our Instagram handle, the Kaizen Path, I think it's the _Kaizen_path, and kaizenpath.com.au is our website. There's a couple of paths there that they can use to contact.
Well, we'll share the links on the socials as well.
Awesome.
See if we can get some more recognition out there, and keep growing it. You obviously have a lot of knowledge in the health sort of space. What's your background?
So like I said, always been involved in sport. At one stage, like 20s and teenagers, I was playing like 4 sports a week. I just loved it. Could not get enough. Tennis, cricket, touch footy. I swam for 17 years of my life, and competitively for about 8 of those. Made it to the state level, luckily enough, and in those years I learnt the discipline, that the black line fever. I think that's where I got my work ethic from, and my strong interest in health, and I really loved finding out more about how I can get the best out of my body. We have an amazing machine that we're in control of, and it's better than any engineer can come up with. Repairs itself and adapts to many different stimuli, and it's just amazing. So I gripped onto that and jumped into a human movement degree, studied more about the body in terms of human performance, went into work in strength and conditioning, so worked with a number of athletes from the elite level to long-term athletic development models with Newington College. I worked for quite a few years, and a few NRL clubs and rugby clubs and bits and pieces in between. So that was my career for a large portion of it. Dabbled in the education space as well, and in high school and TAFE, in the TAFE world, teaching personal trainers how to train people, I guess, Cert 3, Cert 4 fitness, and and more recently pivoted into finance, which was a bit of a 180 degree, some people would say, but there's a method to that, and again it comes back to, I've always been involved in property, and that's property and finance, and that's been a strong interest of mine, but I've also always wanted to run my own business and create that lifestyle I wanted, and again it comes back to my passion for health. If I'm doing that and setting myself up in that way in business, then I've got more time to spend on these sorts of projects of Kaizen Path and my health as well. So
yeah, well, financial health is important too, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
How'd you meet Nick?
Through that pathway, that journey in education. So I worked with Nick, taught with Nick in PDHPE world in a high school in Sydney's West. Back in 2010 to 2012, I would say, around there, circa. And yeah, I just gravitated to Nick. He's, as you know, he's a very open kind of guy and very jovial guy, and we had very, very aligned views of the world, and that's where we met. Yeah,
he's a good guy. Wears his heart on his sleeve, and I think he's a good ambassador for your company as well.
Yeah,
so.
Very vulnerable, and a lot of power in that.
Longevity is something I also like to learn and focus about. Like you, I've picked up books over the years. One was on memory, and just realizing how, you see someone with an exceptional memory, or you see someone who's an exceptional athlete, and often it's not. Well, often there's tricks to it. There's often, like, work ethic is like the black line fever. Is part of it, and putting in the hours, but also knowing the technique and the steps and the ways that we can tools, memory mansions and stuff like that. I've really gone into where you can learn a list of 100 random products and be able to recall them in any order, and which is seemingly impossible, but when you know the method and you practice it, it's seemingly easy. I taught my son at 4 years old to memorize a list of 20 random objects, and he could recall all those objects in any order. So number 17, that was the toaster, and it's not because he's a genius, it's because taking those steps and unlocking these little tricks. So longevity is one that's I guess a great one, because like you said, often people are reminded about their mortality when it's too late, or when you get that call up from the doctor or from something, and it's a major issue. Then it's very hard to come back from. Often, it's not impossible, but it's a lot harder. A lot more energy is needed, when you're 70 and you're crippled with arthritis, than when you're picking up that book at 20 to say, like, how can I look after my body better now? Yeah,
you can't cram for the test.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there is things you can do when you're in later life, for sure, to prolong, for sure, but ultimately you can't cram for the test of it's like finance, right? If you invest early, your retirement nest egg is going to be bigger later, through compounding effect. Yeah,
correct. So I guess in the longevity space, what have you kind of encountered that would be the greatest, I guess, for the least amount of work to get the biggest result at the other end? What would you say a couple of things people could do at home to help increase their longevity or their health, greater health in general? Yeah,
it's interesting you say that, because in our workshops, our corporate workshops, our school workshops, we kind of touch on this, because it turns out that what you do for longevity helps with your mental health as well. And I guess it's when you think about it, there's no real wonder why. I mean, the brain-body connection is incredible. I mean, we're only recently learning now that we've got what we call a second brain, right? The gut microbiome connection with the brain is something I find absolutely fascinating.
Which is ironic because a lot of I guess Chinese medicine cultures had that philosophy for thousands of years, and now it's like a sudden
isn't it
sudden
bizarre
discovery.
How, and that's a rabbit hole we can go down if you like, Phil. There are some bizarre things that like apple cider vinegar is another thing that the Europeans have done for years and years. It's like they knew. And then all of a sudden, this is this thing that's come up in health and wellness research for the last 2 or 3 years. And, I'm implementing that myself. But, you just look at what history's done at fasting as well. There's been fasting in religious cultures.
Or from biblical times, that's right.
Yeah, big time. But to answer your question, right, biggest bang for buck, I would definitely have to say sleep. If you're looking to change one thing to improve all aspects of your health, like we're talking longevity here, and it's highly relevant for longevity. It's the same answer for mental health. It's the same answer for building your connections, and it's the same answer for building your health span and physical performance and prowess, right? So physically, for example, you could train. We train our bodies. You're aware of this. We train our body. Let's say we go to the gym. We do a strength session. Our strength the next day is actually worse than it was the day that we trained, and probably the day after that.
Yeah, probably worse again, yeah.
Yeah, but the reason it overcompensates is because of sleep. Mentally, right? So we go through an event that emotionally challenges us, right? Like we have a bit of a fight with our spouse, our kids, or whatever. We have an issue at work that's happened. There's emotional processing that happens during our REM sleep that kind of fortifies our emotional resilience there. There are obviously many things that happen. I don't know half of them, right? But or more than them. I don't know many of them. But there are many physiological processes and repairs and recovery processes that happen during our sleep within our cells, different parts of ourselves. There's synaptic connections that form with memory. So your son, we're learning that memory tool. He sleeps at night. He's going to build those synaptic connections. And so it's just a superpower. So if there's one, and it's, I'm going to say it's easy to do, but I guess that's maybe controversial in today's society. Maybe it's not. The act of sleeping, we don't have to do much, right? We just sleep.
Yeah.
But we're just lying there. But I guess what you can do and what you can action is get your sleep hygiene correct. So I mentioned getting some sun early in the morning. Human is a big component of that. I think a lot of people are fully aware of that because of his message and others. Getting your circadian rhythm kick-started from the start. Exercise, I've found personally through my own experimentation, if you're exercising in the morning, by far and away, it gives you a much better chance to get to sleep early on at night.
And a deeper sleep too.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, bigger, more healthy, repairable, deep sleep, REM sleep. And so if you're getting your sleep hygiene and your routine from the morning in order, then you're going to help that sleep component. So to answer your question, that's the one thing you're going to get the biggest bang for buck. It's free, right?
Yeah,
it's free. It's going to improve all other aspects of your life as well. Kaizen, this is highly relevant to the name Kaizen Path as well, right? So Kaizen is a Japanese philosophy that comes from the Japanese corporate world. The Japanese are beasts when it comes to the corporate world and their economy, etc.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know what the state of the economy is now, but historically they've been very strong in that, right?
Well, I think they've never fully recovered from the war, but I think they've got a few large companies which really hot up the economy. Yeah.
But they've got a very strong work ethic and strong work culture, and so a lot of the Japanese philosophies kind of come from that. Kaizen is one of them, and it means change for the good. And incremental change.
Correct, yeah.
More specifically, right? So that's why we chose that. We're not going to, we get all shapes and sizes, all different backgrounds coming to our Sunday sessions, as you know, and for the majority of them, we're not going to change every aspect of what we can. And we'll get into our acronym M.A.T.E.S in a moment, if you like, which is the pillars, 6 pillars. I know there's 5 letters in M.A.T.E.S, but 6 pillars, and we get into that. That really, I guess, armor you to be resilient physically and mentally. But look, 1% changes over a week means 52% over the year, but it's actually more than that because there's a compounding effect, similar to the compounding effect of interest, for example, and investment.
So I think it's 3,800%, 38 times over a year.
There you go. You're better.
One to the power of 365. Yeah. So it's just shy of 38 times better than when you started. So it's incredible.
So you're a better mathematician than I, Phil. But so the point being, there's a compounding effect there. So if we can get one person to improve their sleep, that's going to compound, because if they are feeling better because of better sleep, what are they going to do? They're going to have more energy for their relationships. They're going to have more energy to exercise. They're going to have more energy to do other things. They're going to have more energy in their work. Maybe that leads to financial success. The list goes on, right? It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
So if we can change one thing each week or even each month, it's pretty incredible change over time.
Yeah, wow. And it's, I guess it really puts some good optics on it. So the sleep is accelerates your physical repair as well as your mental repair. So it's very like a double-edged sword, really.
Big time. It's huge.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of sleep and sleep routines, and trying not to use the screens, blue light before bed.
Yeah.
And, a bit of quiet time, and reducing LED lights have now come into the spotlight.
Yeah.
Excuse the pun, but even the frequency that the light's actually flickering, we're not even aware of. But like a high rate flickering of blue lights or the blue spectrum of the white light is not conducive to sleep, and it's if anything, the opposite. So stimulating. So it's cool. So it is probably one that's overlooked by a lot of people. And like you said, it doesn't seem like sleep. It's not something you're actively doing, but you can definitely actively prepare and plan for it. And I think going back to longevity, like we said, with the good old grip strength, your sleep is a good indicator of your longevity also. And I've heard that shift workers generally have shorter lifespans due to their being out of sync with those circadian rhythms. So we're not really programmed to be working at night and sleeping during the day for long-term periods, and particularly when you're frequently changing that up and sleeping 1 week on, 1 week off cycles, etc. So
one of the things of optimizing your sleep, one of the patterns you need to be following is that your body loves consistent rhythmical sleep-wake times, right? So even if you're just consistently going to bed at a certain time and waking up at the same time, that's going to help in circadian rhythm and boosting sleep. But not to harp on too much about sleep, but again, just highlighting the importance of it, right? Everyone's kind of aware of evolution and how certain things can be developed in our gene pool through the evolutionary process, right? And you think about sleep when we were hunter-gatherers, and this is something we kind of touch on in our workshops as well. Why wasn't sleep is a very vulnerable position, right? If a predator comes, you're asleep, you can't do anything unless you obviously hear it. But even when you hear a predator, I'm just kind of trying to time warp, right, and go back to the hunter-gatherer stages. You're in a very vulnerable position. Why was that not, bred out of us in the evolutionary process, when it's something that I would imagine be so risky to
lead to your demise quite easily,
exactly.
right?
It's so risky to our race and our species. So the fact that it stood the test of that, it shows you how important it is.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it. And is there a magic number? Sleep hours?
No, I think everyone's different, and I think everyone's. I'm not going to say you need to sleep 8 hours. Certainly, if you're sleeping for less than 7 hours, I think that would probably be a bit of an issue. But if I had to put a figure on it, between 7 7, 8, 9 hours, I think is probably a good ballpark. But and I'm not going to sit here and say you've got to go to sleep at a certain time, because everyone's got different chronotypes as well, and some people are night owls, and that's genetically where they're optimised, and you need to keep going with that. If you feel like you need to go to bed at 11, do that. And if you feel like you go to bed at 8, then do that. You know, me myself, I
early sleep.
9 o'clock, and you know, when we've been working on the backyard quite aggressively over this Easter break, and don't laugh at me, but I've been going to sleep at 8:30 some nights.
Yeah, you've been welcoming the sleep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been pretty brutal, but you know, I'll be up at 5:30 sort of thing. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about so you help a variety of people through Kaizen, all shapes and sizes, all different athletic abilities, all different walks of life, all different outlooks on life, you might say. I think we've talked about it in the past as well. So I was talking to an advocate of they help raise money for women that have been victims of domestic abuse and the legal services. We might planning to have her on the show in coming months. But so I guess through that conversation, it kind of sparked like how else that can be helped and addressed. And Kaizen came to mind in the way that helping men and not making excuse for domestic violence, but if we can help. It's a multifaceted issue, and it can be addressed from different angles. And by giving men outlets to, I guess, address these issues before they snowball and become larger issues, and like pent-up aggression can lead to that sort of thing. So how can Kaizen help with that sort of angle, I suppose? Like, do you feel as though that helps address potentially?
And again, this is why we focus on men's health, because it does help many other aspects of health as well, including for kids and for spouses, women in their household as well. Men, I don't need to preach this, but men play a pretty pivotal role in the household, right? So do the spouses and the women of households, for sure. But just focusing on men, because most of the time, obviously, men are, how do I say, they not causing domestic violence is not the right word, but they're centred to kind of that domestic violence issue potentially. Men play a big role in the way the household culture is, the family culture is, how emotions are dealt with and regulated and looked at, and we all have challenges with maintaining emotional regulation at times. We've all got a monkey brain, and it can be difficult. I guess one thing, to use a specific example of how Kaizen Path can help address the domestic violence issues, if we're helping men's mental health, they're putting their oxygen mask on first. They can then help their family, being their spouse and their kids, right? To hone in a little bit more specifically, we do breathwork, like I mentioned on Sunday. We talk about the education side of breathwork. We give people the practical tools on how to use breathwork to maintain their mental health, but more importantly, to regulate their emotions, right? So it turns out that if you breathe in certain ways, that can control your autonomous nervous system. And when I'm talking about autonomous nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic, fight or flight. So if someone's experiencing a bout of anger or rage, then that's an autonomous kind of response. It's sympathetic drive, heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up. There's a lot of energy and neurochemicals that go to the limbic system of the brain. But if you then incorporate slow breathing, for example, box breathing everyone's heard of, if you just incorporate that, that kind of suppresses those neurotransmitters and the attention then from the limbic system kind of flows away and comes more towards that prefrontal cortex, which we want, which is more of that logic thinking, emotional regulation. So that's a specific example. If people have that tool, that practical tool that they can draw upon, they're feeling that bout of anger. And we talk about these sorts of things on Sundays.
Yeah.
At times, if you feel that emotional rage and pent up energy, then maybe it's time to use that breathwork technique, and hopefully we help in that sort of way. That's just one specific example.
Yeah, no, that's true. And even with the ice baths, so I guess putting into that extreme environment, once again you kind of go to that primal breathing, that gasping, but
it's practice, right?
When you come back to the breath, you can really take control of it. And so I guess it's a physical versus the mental sort of application of the breathing, but it's definitely powerful stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, and look, I'm not pretending to understand everything about domestic violence and how it's attenuated and originates, but hopefully we're helping mental health and providing tools to help people feel a bit better about themselves and emotionally. Surely that's going to help in some way.
Yeah, I think so. The other thing I kind of during one of the sessions I noticed there was I think I mentioned to you as well, there was a guy that was kind of a bit of an outsider, you could say. He was a little bit of an odd fellow that was just kind of tagging on and didn't know whether to join in or not, and I guess, and then it kind of further complicates dynamics, because I suppose once if you bring in someone who perhaps is a bit of an outsider and they don't feel in place there, is that like affect the dynamics of the group, and can it like potentially lead to people closing up and not feeling comfortable? And have you ever had to turn someone away, or has there been a situation like
we
that,
never turn anyone away,
Yep.
Unless there's extenuating circumstances. We haven't got there yet, thankfully. We're 18 months into the running of these Sunday sessions, and we've never had to turn anyone away. We've been fully welcoming. If we allow people to add other people to the group, because we empower people to think, there's people in our lives that probably need some of this, and
cool.
we welcome everyone. And I'll give you an example that is, I guess, a real good testament to what you're alluding to here. So one of our early members, he came down and he was similar to what you're describing, I guess, in that he was a little bit standoffish. He didn't really, I guess I want to use the word scattered a little bit. He wasn't very comfortable in the environment, caused a significant injury actually to
himself, or
to one of the accident to one of the other members, and we were doing some grappling and wrestling, and all pretty safe, but just something out of the blue went wrong. We had chats, and he was still welcomed, and we got through that, and he's now one of our best members, and probably the most common. The one that attends the most and contributes the most.
Awesome,
So that other example that you're talking about, a bit of an introvert, I guess. I'm an introvert myself, so I can kind of reflect on that, and I think that inertia is always going to be there, right? Because socially, some people, and I think it's a bit more prevalent these days, a lot of social anxiety out there. It can be a bit intimidating as well if you rock up and you don't know anyone. There's all these men here, and some of them are really into their health and real fit and all that sort of stuff. That can be intimidating, I understand, depending on the background that you're coming from. But I think after the first session, there's something amazing about ice baths, mate. It's an icebreaker. It's a pardon the pun, but it's really an icebreaker. You get in there and maybe it's the vulnerability, I don't know. Support.
I think you're all going through a tough experience that you can relate to because you've done it before, and I think it really builds that community and pulls people together. And it's cool, and that's cool that you had it's a good example, like say a success story, how it kind of turned that around.
I've got another example. We did a corporate workshop with Audi Motorship group, and there was a young guy there. I think he was 18, 19, fairly new to the team, the service team at Audi, And we went through everything. We spoke about the talk. We went through the M.A.T.E.S acronym, and we got on the field and put them through their paces. We did some breath work. Bit of an outlier in those activities because he didn't have his mates in there. He didn't form relationships. We got to the ice baths, and the leaders of the group went in first, leading from the front. They hated it, but they did it. They got out. They felt amazing. He kind of saw that. And we had 4 ice baths there. The next 4 got in, and he was just slowly coming a little bit closer. He was over in the corner and didn't talk, and he didn't want to get in. And the group got around him. He got in. We said, look, you just have to go for 1 minute. Even 30 seconds. You go 30 seconds, massive pat on the back. You'll feel like you've accomplished something. He got in, and he was freaking out. But after 10 seconds, and him realising that he could handle this, massive smile on his face. 3 or 4 degree water, and there's this massive smile on his face. He started breathing. He got into the routine of breathing, that box breathing method, and he stayed in there for 3 minutes, and he did not want to get out. He got up, and everyone was high-fiving him, and we got we recently spoke to the leader of the group. 12 months later, he's a different person in the group, right? Like he's bonded. He's got those connections. Again, it's an icebreaker. There's something physically, mentally, and socially about the ice baths there in that group and the way we do it that really paves the way for stronger individuals. Yeah, and look, I know there's a lot of positive and negative discussion around ice and whether it's good from physical perspective or not. Yeah. But I think a lot of these people that criticise it, they haven't done it and haven't experienced it. So could it slow down recovery? Potentially, yes, you're vasoconstricting when you're trying to make repairs and all that sort of thing. But I think by far, having experienced it and having hear your success stories and seeing it firsthand, and by far for me, it outweighs the negatives. So, well, it's a tool in your toolbox, right? Correct. It's a tool in your health. It's not going to be for everything. Yes. Endurance running is not for everyone because they've got injuries and it's impactful, right? It's a tool. Maybe that's not a tool for you. Ketogenic diet is not a tool for everyone. Intermittent fasting is not a tool for everyone. Yeah. So ice baths is not for everyone. And when it gains so much popularity, I guess you get some people that criticize it, and I guess maybe the criticism, I don't know this, but maybe the criticism becomes because everyone's doing it and not everyone should do it. And I agree with that, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a tool that you use in certain times and on certain individuals. And I did notice that during our group sessions on Sunday that some of the guys occasionally say that today I'm not doing it. Yeah. And there's no judgment, there's no ridicule for people that choose not to do it. It's if you want to do it. If you don't. And I think it's respectful and like you said, it's not necessarily for everyone, and it might not be right at all the times for everyone, even if you do get benefits out of it. So it's cool. But I think it has its place, and in the right setting, it's very powerful. And as you saw with your Audi group, it can make big changes, even like that community aspect of going through that hardship together. I think it is. And look, we go back to that 1%er rule that Kaizen symbolises, right? That employee at Audi, he takes a lot of confidence away from that, and he realises the power of breathwork, and then he gets a bit more self-efficacy, which I'm learning to be a very important aspect of anyone's life, that self-efficacy. He gets a lot of self-efficacy and confidence, and then he goes, well, why don't I do this? I can try running. I don't run much. I can try swimming, and I can try some intermittent fasting, and he gets the confidence from that, and that translates to many aspects of his life. Yeah, I find the same thing. If you start the day with getting into a 4-degree ice bath and you conquer that, then everything else seems easy. Yeah, right? Big time. Yeah, gives you some perspective as well. Yeah, I just finished reading Endurance, so the Ernest Shackleton story where he went to Antarctica and they got stranded there for a couple of years, and it kind of gave me a little bit of perspective. But
endure that for 3 minutes versus enduring that for like 2 years. They were like wet almost consistently,
Wow.
ice conditions, sub-0 degrees most of the time, flimsy sleeping bag. So it gave a lot more respect to that book, having experienced it. It's not very comparable, but like, just, a few minutes of that versus, so it's amazing.
But see, this is another important aspect of health and connection, right? Because connection gives you perspective. You talk to people and you're not talking to the author, I know, but in a way you're kind of connecting with them, right?
Yeah.
In a one-way fashion, but it's still a connection, and you're connecting with that story, and it gives you perspective. And you might hear another story with a friend of yours or a family member, and a fellow member of the Kaizen Brotherhood, and you see other perspectives, and it just gives you perspective on your own life, and all of a sudden all those little problems that you have just don't feel as large. Problem shared is a problem halved, that sort of thing as well. So yeah,
it's good. Yeah, and the optics of it, right? And sometimes like I like to zoom out and just think like, we're this little speck on this slightly larger speck floating through
I know, it's
an endless abyss. And when you look at your problem and it seems so overwhelming and all-consuming, when you kind of zoom out to those optics and just like, well, maybe it's not so bad. It can be at the time, but a good friend of mine always says like, this too shall pass, and that's a good philosophy, and just to keep things in perspective, and even just talking about things, sharing them, and that outlet that you give men is very powerful. So.
Yeah, big time.
All
Shared
right.
human experience.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Sean, for coming on, and look, maybe we can have Nick on a bit later down the track, or we could work out some more stuff, but I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of each other. And I love what you guys do. I think, it's rare to find people that are, look, you guys give, but you're doing it for free, which I know is, coming from the heart, and it's like you're sharing your insight, and it helps a lot of people, and it helps their communities, and there is that real ripple effect across the pond. And I think if more people like you were out there and gave their effort and all, that be a much greater society. So kudos to you and well done. And if I can help in any way, I'd like to continue to support you guys.
Awesome. Thanks for the support, Phil. I really appreciate you coming on, and I just love chatting about this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And, you're a like-minded individual, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, man.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Critical Mass. If something in today's conversation hit home, whether it gave you a new way of thinking, a push to keep going, or just a reminder that growth comes from the grind, do me a favour. Leave a review and pass it on to someone who needs to hear it. Let's keep building that momentum together. Keep pushing, keep growing, and I'll catch you on the next one.